So today I am very pleased to welcome my colleague Jim O'Farrell, who is from our Solutions Marketing team. Welcome, Jim.
Hi, Erin. How you doing?
Great.
Awesome.
And Jim is here to talk to us about some tools that we can utilize to streamline customer implementation.
Great. Thanks a lot for the introduction, and I'd like to thank everybody for taking their time today. We're going to spend the next 30 minutes sharing with you some exciting information related to customer implementation services. Quickly, our agenda will cover some challenges. We'll have a poll, and then we're going to get into a product demonstration, a full end-to-end, full-body demonstration of proactive client implementation services. And then finally, we'll wrap up with a poll, and then we'll get into next steps and so on. So let's go ahead and let's get started. First of all, I think what we've seen is that service teams have seen a lot of growth occur, in fact, up to 3x growth with service organization demands, which is a great thing. There's a lot of growth taking place. However, a lot of services teams don't get the same acceleration in terms of their resources, which typically runs anywhere from 1 to 1.5x. So what does this do? Well, this causes a lot of pressure on the organization, especially in the services team. Not only do they get that pressure from the growth, but they're getting pressure from sales teams, understanding what's going on with projects, from leadership in terms of services revenue and recognition of services revenue, and ultimately from customers too, trying to understand what's going on. In fact, according to Forrester's TEI, the number one cost driver for project managers is spending their time to track down information, inputs and updates to project plans. Another factor that leads to this too is this whole idea of unstructured collaboration. In our publication, Harvard Business Review, it reveals that up to 80% of a worker's week is spent on unstructured meetings, email, and correspondence relating to phone calls. So this ongoing firefighting starts with these siloed operations and the use of manual tools and processes. And what we see time and again is these inefficiencies ultimately result in project slipping and the decline of your overall team's performance and objectives here. In fact, delays and impact revenue, and they also impact customer satisfaction. So what we'd like to do here at this particular point are get a little bit better understanding of your challenges and what you're currently doing to avoid scenarios like this from playing out in your organization. So let's take a minute and let's have our first of two polls today. Okay, well, let's go ahead now and close the poll out, and we're going to share the results with you. And what we can see here is on the results, we've got over 50% of you acknowledging that scope creep is probably the number one challenge that you face, but very close behind that is scheduling, so you can almost lump those together. So we'll keep this in mind as we go through our presentation, our demonstration today, and map how this new approach to managing client implementation services is handled. Our approach and recommendation to mitigate these challenges is a proactive, fully optimized, end-to-end solution to client implementation services. And let's go through this step by step. For example, number one, the benefit of this pre-approval workflow in terms of collecting ideas programmatically, rating and prioritizing and approving those eliminates this issue related to siloed behavior. So that's a great result because then you get consistent process and consistent behavior. Number two, this idea of standardizing work tracking, providing a consistent way of dealing with automated project schedules and goal tracking. This allows you to keep up with that 3x growth I was talking about earlier in the presentation. This is the way that you can manage your resources more effectively. Now, number three is team collaboration workflow. In a proactive client implementation services environment, you need to have this environment set up so that you have automated alerts and follow-up. This ensures that you get consistent execution, that everybody knows what's expected of them at any given time. And this also is important when you're talking about mobility too, the idea of somebody out in the field getting an alert on their mobile device as it relates to a particular implementation project and a task due. Number four is that story about visibility, that whole need for visibility. So automating reporting, understanding not only what's going on with a project from your particular point of view, but the aggregate view of all projects, understanding by reporting what's transparency, what's behind, what's ahead, what's online, what's ahead of budget, what's behind budget, and tracking those KPIs across all programs. And finally, last but not least, a dashboard so that your executives can see at any given time what is going on, real time, with all of those projects, and have the ability to drill down into that particular project that's causing an undue delay. All of this adds up to a solution that provides an end-to-end, full-bodied view of what's going on with your projects at any given time. So what we're going to do now is we're transitioning over. We're going to do a demonstration, and I want to walk through, first of all, what the demonstration will be about. Now, one of the systems of record that we're talking about here at Smartsheet that we do a lot of work with is Salesforce. In fact, we have a Salesforce.com connector that allows you to connect to your Salesforce environment and have full bidirectional integration with the Salesforce environment. And today you're going to see that in action. So if we go ahead and click once, what you'll see in this particular process is that in Salesforce, an opportunity is tagged for services. The second step is that the operations team is notified for scoping via the system in Smartsheet. The third step is that a statement of work is created and finalized, and that can be done in Smartsheet. The fourth step then takes off, and what we do is we'll see that the opportunity is won, which causes another example of something to occur. So what will occur here is that the lead consultant is assigned at that particular point, and then finally the consultant creates the project in the Smartsheet environment, which is then updating the opportunity back in Salesforce at the same time. It's providing a portfolio dashboard update so you can see that this new project has been added. And the client, by the way, they get their own project status and they can also see what's going on. So the ultimate story here is this, that there's a consistent communication and transparency into the whole end-to-end post-sale engagement and implementation process. It's literally a 1 + 1 = 3. It's the synergy of bringing the power of Salesforce together with Smartsheet to deliver end-to-end full-body solutions. So what I'd like to do now is actually, let's get into the actual demonstration of this solution. And now you can see the end of the process is what we're going to start with here. So what I mean by that is that this is this idea of that dashboard that I talked about in the 5-step process. This is really step number 5, which gives you a top-down view of all the various different projects that are in motion right now. So for example, there's 99 projects in flight. You can see the performance metrics to the right, projects that are ahead of schedule, projects that are at risk. And what you can see down below is the live portfolio status of every single project, which allows an executive or you as a VP or director of projects the ability to drill into any one of these projects and understand what is going on at any given time. Remember, this is real time. This is not waiting for somebody to do a roll-up or update an Excel spreadsheet or email some kind of a status. This is happening as these events are occurring. So that's our dashboard. What we're going to do now is start the process that we outlined. First of all, we're going to go into Salesforce. And what you can see here is in Salesforce an opportunity. This opportunity is by the account name Celadin. What we're going to do is Celadin's deal just closed. So what we're going to do is update that information saying it's been won, and also that we've assigned a professional services package. And also notice, I want to point out over here on the right that the actual primary services consultant has not yet been assigned. And we're going to wait on that. We're going to do that piece of the puzzle in the Smartsheet environment. So we'll go ahead and we'll save this information. And there's a trigger now that's been set up. And that trigger now will take the information out of Salesforce and pre-populate the intake sheet in Smartsheet. What we're looking at now is that intake sheet. In fact, we're looking at it through the lens of our exciting card view solution. And in card view, what we're able to do is go through and look at the information associated with that opportunity that came right out of Salesforce. For example, look at that opportunity ID and the account ID. That all came across. So what we're going to do is now add more information to this project. We're going to add the project type. We're going to assign the project manager. We're going to make it Francis. And we're going to go ahead and select that and say OK. Now what we'll do is we'll simply drag and drop the card. So simple, it's not even funny. We're going to drop it into the approved column, and that now makes that first level of approval complete. Now here's our new conditional notifications. So we've got the first level approved. Now we're going to notify the second level of approval. So once something gets approved at the first level, then this notification gets kicked in, and David will get an update now that he needs to go in and do a secondary approval on this project before we actually kick it off in Smartsheet. Now we're looking at, we have our filter, now we're looking at our VP level here. And filters are an exciting capability within Smartsheet too. This ability to have filters on the fly, and what we'll see now is that we're going to drag and drop the Celadon first level approval into the secondary approval, and now we've got those two approvals done. And again, what this does is it takes now all of that aggregated data, not only from Salesforce, but the data that was collected in the intake sheet, and now it's going to go into Control Center. Now, just for a moment, in Control Center, what I'd like to explain there, this is our new solution that allows you to generate on the fly projects, templates, reports, dashboards, and also pre-populate aggregated dashboards and reports too. So let's walk through it. Our first step in the project is actually we can select what kind of project we want to create. We, for example, in our implementation services solution, we have training packages. We have custom development projects. Each of these have their own type of templates and reports and so on. Today, what we're going to show is the consulting project, and select that project type and go to our next step in this particular process. The second step, here's where we select the various different templates. And what you can see, these are reports, these are project templates, these are dashboards that are all created automatically that are designed for this one particular project that we're setting up in Smartsheet. Also, you have the ability to assign optional templates. And of course, you can assign key contacts too. So this is our template selection area here, and we just pick and choose what we want to see. As we go to the next level, now we have the project information. So think of this as data about your project that you want to propagate out through all of your different templates and reports and dashboards. Notice here that what we can do is go ahead and hit the selection, and what we can do is select the actual opportunity name. And in this particular opportunity, we're going to select one of these that has been set up and bring that on in. I think we might scroll it down a little further. And what we'll do is we'll just, for the examples here, we'll go ahead and select Rad Ameren Corporation. And what this will illustrate to you is the client name. This is a slightly different example, but it will select the client name and all the information that did come from the intake sheet and the project opportunity for that particular process. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to update within Control Center now. We can add even more information. So the information we can add here, for example, is the lead consultant information. We can assign, for example, Stephen Ramos to this as the lead consultant. And what we can do is also assign go live dates and start dates here at this particular point. And here we go. We have a go live date and the target on-site date and the products assigned. All right. So easy. So far, 1, 2, 3, we're at step 4. At step 4, this is a really super exciting area here. What we're actually doing here is we're selecting the actual tasks that we want to have appear in the project plan. So, for example, core products. Think of this in a way that this is where you go through and customize the actual template that's being generated. But this is a big challenge for a lot of organizations, because what you'd have to do is either design a template that's so huge it encompasses all the different options that are available, or too small that may be too limited. With Control Center, you have the ability to select what components, what tasks that you'd like to see in subtasks. For example, we have 2 occurrences of user acceptance testing that we want to have appear in that project plan. By simply picking and choosing these, we're going to automatically create those in that project plan. Okay, let's go to our final step, and this is where we assign our security. All the various different users and editors. This allows you to simply and easily set up all the privileges associated with this project. And now all we have to do is click the button. So it's easy as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what we're doing now is we've set up folders, we've set up a workspace, we've set up a dashboard, a collection of dashboards, a collection of reports for this particular opportunity. What we've also done is we've aggregated this information so that it will appear in the collective dashboard view and any of the aggregate reports. All of that is being managed by Smartsheet's Control Center, which allows you to generate multiple projects, provides you with flexibility plus control at scale. And that's something we've heard from a lot of our customers that they really need. When they're dealing with hundreds, thousands of different projects, this takes the, if you will, the razor blades out of that particular process. All right, so what we can do now is we're at this stage now where we can take a look at some of the results from our Smartsheet Control Center. So the first item we're looking at here is the internal dashboard for this particular project we created. So notice in this dashboard, you have these elements related to the particular project, like the status of the project, when the kickoff date is. Remember, that came straight in from our control center. We have information regarding internal communications. So these are communications we want to share internally about this project. Over to the right is the external communications that we share with our customers. What we can do from here is take a look now at what the customer's dashboard would look like. Let's look at that. So we have a dashboard for our own internal usage and tracking. Then we have this client view of the summary information. And the difference here, for example, it's more client customer-centric information. For example, the communication at the top is what we prefer our customers to know about the project at any given time. Below it, what you'll see are the various different project views and the assets and so on. So this is all automatically generated based on the data that was shared in that control center setup and information that came from Salesforce. Okay, from the internal hub view, let's go take a look at the actual project plan that's been created. So we have this project core plan that's set up, and what you'll notice in the project plan itself is we have summary information at the very top. Well, guess where that information came from? That information came from Salesforce. That information came from the intake sheet in Smartsheet. That information came from the control center, and it can be also updated here too. And oh, by the way, you can actually go back and edit this information, and when you edit the information, it propagates back out to all the various different sheets that are associated with it. So let's take a look at a few other key items in this particular view of Smartsheet. Notice here the various different sections. Remember, we selected these different sections in Control Center, and we were selective about the number of projects, the number of process workshops, the user acceptance testing. All of those were updated into Smartsheet here, and it's ready to go with all the various different dates and end dates and so on, all set up. So think of the amount of time that's been saved right here alone just in setting up this initial project plan and template. Now what we want to do is take a look at what we can do with this. So we have notions like update requests. So what we can do here is send an update request off to one of our external stakeholders. Maybe we have a consultant who's writing code in Vietnam, and we need to get an update to that particular coding specialist in Vietnam that they need to know. We need to know if they understand about the planning kickoff. So we're setting that up, and we can set up the actual columns that that person needs to complete, and we highlight all those various different columns. And when we're done with the requested column information, we can click on OK here. And what will happen at this particular point is we can also set up a delivery schedule for this. So right now we're going to send it immediately, but we can set these up to send out once a week. So everyone in the project who has an assigned task can get notifications and requests for updates to the actual sheet without having to go into the sheet itself. That's incredibly powerful. They can do this on their handheld device. They can do it on their iPhone. They can do it on their Android device. So we're talking mobility, and we're talking ability to get everybody on the same page real time all the time. And we'll go ahead and finish off here. We're going to take a look at some of the client project tasks. So this goes back to our environment here where we can set up particular views so we can see what are the client's project tasks that they're supposed to be doing. We can also take a view of this and take a card view and view it in a different capacity too, if we'd like to look at that. Let's take a look at a new feature here, Beyond Card View. And this is super exciting because today I think we just launched this, Erin. This is called our activity log. And the activity log is absolutely fantastic. If you need to know whatever happened to your project plan, and I'm talking about cells being changed, rows being updated, sheets being viewed, who's viewed it, when did they view it, how did they view it, this is killer for anyone who wants to understand in your client implementation services project what has happened to this sheet at any given time. Super excited about this. Know that a lot of you are going to want this capability. And again, this just dropped into a release here today, I believe. It's out there in the field, so that's great. So that's a little bit about the actual project plan. And remember, this was all generated, again, going through Control Center with data from Salesforce, data from the intake sheet, data from the whole environment to create this particular view. So finally, let's go back to our summary dashboard, if you don't mind. We'll take a quick look at that summary dashboard. And what we can see is, again, this information, again, starting with the beginning or the end in mind here, we can see the various different implementations, updates, so on and so forth. And again, we can also get a gauge on what's going on with any of the projects. So finally, let's go back to Salesforce, make it a complete end-to-end demonstration here. And what you can see now is in this particular opportunity, we've assigned, there's the status in terms of the project ID, PS0171. That came from Smartsheet and populated back into Salesforce. Also, what you can see at this particular level here too is we'll go to the actual object here in terms of in Sahara, the account. There's been a new project object that's been created. So we've fired up and created from Smartsheet a new project that's called the CIS Solution Implementation. And what you can see, for example, is the project owner, the status headline, for example, that this is the internal communication that we want to share inside the company. And if you can see down executive comments in the lower left there, that's the communication we want to share with the customer. But the sales rep or the executives, anyone who goes through Salesforce can see what's going on with this particular project at any given time. Okay? So I think that that's our live demonstration. I want to go back to, let's have a few more comments here. And again, what we just saw in this demonstration is this whole end-to-end full-bodied solution where we start with the opportunity, we update it in Smartsheet, we create the project plans that are custom to the particular project, we aggregate the data in the dashboards and reports, we have the ability to notify and keep consultants tracking and up to date with portfolio dashboards being updated and customer dashboards being updated. A whole end-to-end solution using the control center as a basis for driving all of this and Smartsheet's Salesforce connector. So what's the value of all this? Well, let's take just 30 seconds on this. What we talked about were these challenges earlier on. We talked about challenges in terms of consistent execution, keeping up with growth, the need for visibility, and siloed operations and processes and so on. Well, I think it's clear to see that with this platform for client implementation services, we certainly are addressing this whole idea around consistency, and that results in productivity and much better work execution, higher quality work, faster work, more services recognition. Secondly, this idea of visibility is really important. We hear this again and again from a lot of our clients. It's very, very important. This ability to see what's going on at any time with any one of our given projects or program overall. So that visibility is critical. 3, if you're dealing with 50, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 different projects, this ability to scale while still providing flexibility to your end users is critical. So that's what we call consistency. It's kind of a paradox. It's the ability to provide flexibility yet provide control too at the same time. Typically a lot of people, they talk about standardization, but then users hate that because they're forced in to put the straitjacket of standardization on. With this approach, we're providing the flexibility and consistency to solve these problems. And what's this all translate to at the bottom line? It's a much happier customer, it's faster services recognition, and you can see over on the right here, for example, the hours saving, for example, for a person a week. That's a pretty significant amount of time. If you want to factor in at a couple $100 an hour, that can start adding up pretty fast by employee. I think even more important is reducing the risk associated with these rollouts. If you can mitigate risk, you can recognize project revenue faster and have a happier customer. That is only going to mean that you can keep up with that 3x growth in your demands and your organization. So with this all said, we got one more poll. All right, well, let's go ahead and share our results to our poll. And if we can do that, we can share those. And as you can see, I think the majority of you, by far, 60%, see the advantages of this in increasing productivity, getting better decision making, consistency in your program scalability, and increased customer satisfaction. So let's go ahead and hide this poll, and we'll go to our last slide here, which is, what do I do next? So what a lot of people do next is they contact us here at Smartsheet, And what we do is we'll work with you to better understand your business requirements, understand your pain, understand how we can help you mitigate that pain, because we think we can help you with this consistency, flexibility, and deliver control at scale for all of our client implementation services projects. And with that said, I think what I'll do is I'll turn it over to Aaron. We've got a few questions in here. What we'll do is see if we can answer a couple questions. And if we don't get to your question, we are going to answer those questions afterwards and get those answers right back to you too. So don't feel like we're going to shortcut you. If you have a lot of questions, we want to help you. So
yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Jim. That was really fantastic. This is such an exciting new solution, and really, utilizing the power of Smartsheet with some other high-powered tools to really implement solutions and processes at scale. We have a couple questions coming in. I'm just going to read a few of them off to you. One question is about configurability. The question is, our client implementation process requires us to capture information that we don't actually see in the demo. How configurable is this solution?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if I understand that question correctly, I think what it means is that we might have other systems that we're trying to integrate with, for example, beyond Salesforce.com or beyond Jira. And the way to address that particular question is that we have an open API, if you will, and we can address a lot of different system integrations through leveraging that open API. Also, if the question is coming more from how are our templates configured? We have different configurations, if you will, than what we saw in the demonstration. That's always the case. We're simply here just trying to share with you concepts and ideas, and that's why it's important for our services team and for us to get together with you through scoping and understand what your business requirements are. And with that understanding, then we can put together a quick, configurable solution that gets you to market within a few weeks in terms of a full-blown end-to-end client implementation services solution.
Perfect. Another question is, we average about 500 service projects a year. Can the solution scale to that kind of level?
Yeah, that's a great question too, and it's a really important question because that's really where the control center, the idea for it came from. And that idea is, how do we manage rolling out all these dashboards and reports and projects and templates and do it at a scale that allows us to run our business the way we run our business? And the answer directly to the question is we absolutely 500 implementation service projects are that's easy for us to do. So again, I think the ultimate answer is spending a little bit of time understanding your requirements, understanding what your business requirements and scale requirements are, allows us to be able to address that more directly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Another question is, we use Excel and Power BI to manage our insights in our projects. Can we still leverage this capability, and how would we do this?
Yeah, a lot of people obviously are using Excel these days for managing various different projects. And what we do is a lot of times we can take those templates and bring those Excel templates directly into Smartsheet, and you can start right there with that particular template as a baseline for your project templates. In fact, a lot of the formulas are actually maintained when you bring them into that particular environment. As far as Power BI is concerned, we have a direct connector to Power BI also, so that gives you the ability to bidirectionally share information back and forth between Power BI and do aggregate and summary roll-ups in that particular environment.
Okay.
So yes, you certainly can leverage that capability.
Great. Okay. Looks like we've got time for one more question here, Jim. Here's a question that says, our implementation team works out of projects in Salesforce. The opportunity is connected but not worked on. Are we able to configure this to work through projects in Salesforce?
Yeah, and the answer is yes. This connector that I'm talking about, the Salesforce connector, provides that ability to connect to any particular object within the Salesforce environment. So again, back to the same point here, we need to spend a little bit more time with you scoping exactly what attributes you want to link to in that Salesforce.com object, in the project object, and then we can show you how that links to the intake form, for example, within Smartsheet, or even the project plan for that matter. So there's lots of different ways to pull that together, but my bottom line answer is there's a lot of flexibility, and yes, we can help you out on that.
Great. Well, thank you, Jim. We are at time today, and I want to be respectful of people's time. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. As we mentioned, If you didn't get your question answered live, don't worry, we will address all of those offline after the webinar. Also, if you have further questions about this solution or you want to learn more, please do reach out to us at sales@smartsheet.com. That will connect you to your account manager who can walk you through more details about some of these and get you connected to the right people to help figure out what's going to work best within your own organization. Again, thanks so much, everyone. We look forward to seeing you on the next webinar.